Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something called bioprotocol, or just BIO.
Right.
Think of it as this new financial layer, a sort of engine built for decentralized science.
DeSci, yeah. It's all about trying to commercialize science, specifically biotech, much faster than we currently do.
Exactly. The core idea seems to be connecting everyone, patients, researchers, crypto folks like us, globally.
So they can actually fund and develop new biotech right from the get-go.
Precisely. Creating these user-owned research networks, it's a big ambition. Reshape how breakthroughs happen, make them more accessible.
User-owned networks.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It implies a real shift in who benefits and who directs the research.
It really does. And underpinning this whole bioeconomy, as they call it, is the bio token.
Okay, the token. What's its role?
Well, it's key to the whole thing, primarily a governance token. So holding bio lets you signal support for these decentralized groups. Bio DAOs, we'll get into those, and maybe even get in early on funding rounds.
Gotcha. So governance and potentially early access.
Yeah. So today we'll unpack BIO, look at the team, the backers, and, try to analyze its real potential.
Sounds good. So let's start with the basics. What specific problem is bioprotocol trying to fix here? Because let's face it, traditional biotech research faces some big hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Our sources point to, the usual suspects. Sky-high costs just to get started.
Yeah, astronomical sometimes.
Funding processes that can just drag on forever. Years, sometimes. And then there's the whole IP access issue, right? Intellectual property often gets locked down, making it tough for smaller labs or researchers to build on what's already out there.
Right, the standing on the shoulders of giants thing gets tricky if you can't reach the shoulders.
Exactly. So the traditional way, despite its successes, can feel, slow and a bit exclusive. That seems to be the gap bio is targeting.
Okay, so those are the problems. And BioLo's answer involves blockchain technology. How does that work?
Well, their vision is this concept they call the bioeconomy. I think of it like a community-driven ecosystem specifically for biotech innovation.
Right, trying to move away from those centralized bottlenecks.
Exactly. The mission is really about decentralizing both the money side, the funding, and the actual development process itself, empowering this global network to pool resources, share knowledge, and, crucially, share ownership of the breakthroughs.
So moving away from just a handful of big pharma companies or VCs controlling the agenda, spreading it out.
That seems to be the core idea, which brings us neatly to these bio-DAOs you mentioned earlier.
Right, the bio-DAOs. What exactly are they? How do they function within this bioeconomy?
Okay, so bio-DAs, that's biotech decentralized autonomous organizations. They're kind of the engine room of the bioeconomy.
Like focused research groups, but decentralized.
Pretty much. Imagine them as internet-native research labs or communities. Each one is focused on a specific niche in biotech. So you could have one for, say, gene editing.
Or cancer research.
Longevity. Exactly, all those kinds of areas. And the members, researchers, patients, funders, they pool resources. Could be money, could be expertise, maybe even anonymized data.
And they make decisions together.
Yeah, collectively, using governance systems, often on-chain for transparency. And importantly, they share in the outcomes. That could be IP rights, financial returns if something gets commercialized, or just, the scientific progress itself.
It sounds much more targeted, maybe more collaborative.
Yeah.
Are there actual bio-DAOs running now in the bio ecosystem?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The sources list quite a few, which helps make it concrete. One that seems to have gotten some early traction is Curatopia.
Curatopia.
Yeah, built on Solana, focused on rare diseases. Apparently, they've already raised about $1.77 million, which is pretty significant for a DAO in this space.
That is significant.
Yeah.
Especially for rare diseases, which are often underfunded.
Right. Then you've got others like MycoDAO, probably looking at fungi.
Makes it.
Spine DAO, spinal health, presumably. Long COVID Labs, that one's pretty timely, obviously aiming for long COVID solutions, and it's part of their incubator program.
Okay, so they have an incubator too. Interesting.
Yeah. And the list goes on. Quantum biology DAO, nootropics DAO, brain enhancement stuff, and Vita DAO. That's a big one.
Vita DAO, longevity research, right? I think I've heard of them.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Focused on longevity. And they actually got backing from Pfizer Ventures back in December 2022.
Pfizer Ventures. Wow. Okay, that's a serious nod from traditional pharma, isn't it?
It really is. It suggests that, the established players are at least taking notice of these DISA models. It lends some credibility for sure.
Definitely. Any other notable bio-DAOs?
Yeah, a few more mentioned. Hair DAO tackling hair loss. They actually filed a patent in December 2023, which is, a tangible step.
A patent, huh? So they're generating actual IP.
Seems like it. Then there's Cerebrum DAO for neuroscience, Valley DAO looking at synthetic biology for climate and food, Athena DAO for women's health,
Important area.
PsyDAO for psychedelic science, and even CryoDAO exploring cryopreservation. So it's a really diverse mix.
It really is. It paints a picture of quite a vibrant, maybe slightly fragmented, but definitely active ecosystem.
Yeah, fragmented but specialized, maybe? Imagine patient groups directly owning and steering research into their conditions. That's the potential disruption here.
Okay, so that's the ecosystem. What about the core team behind BioProtocol itself? Who were the people driving this?
Right, the team. Let's see. Our sources list Paul Kohlhaas on tokenomics, pretty crucial role.
Absolutely.
James Cinca handling R&D and community. Jose Pinto is legal counsel.
Very necessary in both biotech and crypto.
Definitely. Then Leonard Boltz and Clemens Ortlep are on product. Nate Heinemann for growth. Stefano Glauser, Julia Logo, and Lucas Widener in operations. Alex Dobrin on marketing.
Seems like a well-rounded group.
Jayawat Menfadinki is looking after the ecosystem side, Elliot Brunette on tech, and someone named Sean Brennan listed as an agentic EIR, maybe related to those AI agents we might touch on later.
Agentic EIR. Interesting title. Okay, so a decent core team. What about advisors? Anyone bringing in outside expertise?
They've got advisors too. Tyler Galato for research deal flow, finding promising projects. Vincent Weiser on AI and research.
AI is huge in biotech now.
Totally. Beta Bernoska advises on operations. Someone called Schmackofant, unique name on tech, specifically IP tokens.
The tokenized IP aspect again. Crucial.
And Jesse Hudson advising on regulatory matters, which, as we keep saying, is going to be critical.
Having advisors focus specifically on IP tokenization and regulation shows they're grappling with the tricky bits.
Seems like it. And then there's the big picture backing. This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The most significant name is Binance Labs. They made a strategic investment in BioProtocol in November 2024.
Binance Labs. Okay, that's major validation in the crypto space. Huge resources, massive visibility.
Exactly. It's a big deal. And beyond that single investment, there are milestones that show progress. Like the first science funded on-chain was apparently with the University of Copenhagen way back in August 2021.
So they proved the concept early.
Yeah. The first IP token launch was June 2023. And by November 2023, the combined market cap of all the BioDAO tokens had supposedly passed $200 million.
$200 million aggregate market cap for the DAO tokens.
Yeah.
That suggests real community buy-in and speculation, at least.
Right. It shows there's significant interest and capital flowing into these decentralized science projects within their ecosystem.
Those milestones definitely help build a narrative of growing momentum.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit and look at the wider environment using that PESTLE analysis from our sources. First up, political factors.
Well, the big one is regulation, isn't it? Being decentralized, bio and the bio DAOs could run into different rules, different levels of scrutiny depending on the country. The legal status of DAOs and crypto tokens is still fuzzy in places.
A potential minefield. Could be. But on the flip side, you might get governments actually supporting this kind of innovation, initiatives wanting to boost science and tech. So push and pull there.
Makes sense. How about the economic side?
Economically, the big opportunity is democratizing funding, right? Pulling in capital from beyond just VCs, individuals, patient groups, a wider net.
Tapping into new pools of money.
Yeah. But the massive risk is crypto volatility. The price of BIO, the value of DAO tokens, it's all tied to the crypto market roller coaster. And its success really depends on Deci itself taking off and crypto gaining broader acceptance.
High potential reward, high risk. Classic crypto. Okay, social factors.
Socially, it connects directly to unmet needs. Funding research for rare diseases, maybe things big pharma ignores. It potentially empowers patients and researchers.
Giving them more agency.
Right. But the flip side is it relies heavily on community engagement. You need people to participate, to trust the system, to build that social layer. If the community isn't strong, the model kind of falls apart.
Community's key. Got it. What about technology?
Tech is obviously core, blockchain for transparency, smart contracts for automation. And they're leaning into AI now, too, with these BioAgents for research.
We should talk more about those BioAgents later.
Definitely. But the success hinges on whether the tech is secure, whether it can scale, and critically, usability. Can regular scientists or patients actually use these platforms easily? Things like the Launchpad need to be user-friendly, not just for crypto experts.
Yeah, adoption beyond the core crypto crowd is crucial. Okay, illegal, we touched on it with political, but any other specifics?
It's just a complex web. You've got rules around scientific research itself, then intellectual property law, then crypto regulations, all varying globally. Getting clarity on the legal standing of a bio-DAO or an IP token representing research, it's uncharted territory in many ways.
Huge legal complexity.
Yeah.
And finally, environmental factors. Is that a consideration here?
Our sources suggest it's generally seen as positive environmentally. The goal is faster research, which could lead to green solutions, like Valley DAO working on synthetic biology for sustainability.
Right.
And while crypto energy use is always a topic, Bio runs on Solana and Base, which are, generally considered more efficient than older blockchains like Bitcoin. So it doesn't seem to be a primary environmental concern based on what we have.
Okay, so less of a direct issue compared to some other crypto projects. That PESTLE gives a good overview of the external pressures. Now, let's do a SWOT analysis look internally at strengths, weaknesses, and externally at opportunities, threats. What are Bio's core strengths?
Well, the innovative funding model itself is a big strength. It's different.
The core value proposition.
Exactly. The community focus via BioDAOs is another plus built-in network effect. The team seems experienced, with links to Molecule, Vita DAO. That helps.
Prior track record matters.
Definitely. The backing from Binance Labs is obviously a huge strength, money, and credibility. Tokenizing IP is genuinely novel and potentially powerful, and they do have early traction, multiple DAOs launched, patents filed, proof of concept, sort of.
So innovation, community, team, backing, IP tokenization at early traction. Sounds solid. What about weaknesses? Where are the internal challenges?
Well, it's still new, right? The whole DESI model is largely unproven at scale, so there's inherent risk.
Early stage uncertainty.
Yeah, it's super reliant on DESI actually becoming a thing. Regulatory hurdles are a definite weakness. That uncertainty is a drag. The token price volatility we mentioned that can scare people off. And competition exists, both from traditional funding and other DESI projects popping up.
Okay, so novelty risk, dependence on DESI adoption, regulation, token volatility, and competition. Makes sense. What about external opportunities? What could give Bio a boost?
There's definitely growing interest in DESI and using crypto for real-world stuff. That's a tailwind.
The narrative is shifting.
Right. It has the potential to fund research that traditional models ignore those niche or less profitable areas. It could attract talent and money from all over the world, breaking down geographical barriers. And these new tools, like the BioAgents, if they work well, they could genuinely speed up research significantly within the bio ecosystem.
So market trends, addressing unmet needs, global reach, and technological advancements like AI. Lots of potential upside. Lastly, the threats. What external factors could derail bioprotocol?
Regulation is the big scary one. A major crackdown on crypto or specifically DAOs could be disastrous.
The sword of Damocles for many crypto projects.
Pretty much. If they fail to build and keep that strong community, the whole model weakens. Security is always a threat. A major hack could destroy trust.
Absolutely critical in finance and data.
And just slow adoption. If the wider biotech world doesn't buy in, bio might remain a niche player. Plus, the risk that someone else comes along with a better DESI model. Constant innovation means constant competition.
Okay, so regulation, community failures, security breaches, slow industry adoption, and superior competitors. A good summary of the risks.
Yeah, that SWOT and PESTLE together give you a pretty rounded picture, I think. The potential is definitely there, but so are the challenges.
Absolutely. So, wrapping things up a bit, bioprotocol is really trying to rewrite the rules for biotech funding and development.
Yeah, using these decentralized BioDAOs, powered by the bio token, backed by some significant players like Binance.
Leveraging blockchain, community curation, maybe even AI down the line to try and knock down those traditional barriers: cost, speed, access.
Accelerate discovery, make it more open. That's the pitch.
And as we've seen, it holds real promise for addressing gaps in the current system, fostering collaboration, maybe making research more efficient.
It's also navigating tricky waters. Regulation, market volatility, proving the model works at scale. It's not a guaranteed win.
Not at all. It's still early days for DESI overall.
Exactly. It definitely leaves you thinking, though. What are the real implications of putting scientific IP on a blockchain? Can decentralized communities truly steer the future of medicine?
It's a fascinating question. The potential for patient empowerment and faster innovation is huge, but so are the complexities. Definitely a space to watch closely.